Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Customer Service School. My name is Stephen Merrill and I'm really excited to be here with you today. And today's topic is everybody matters. And here's what I want to talk about with this is so often in a company of all different sizes, there's a few people that get a lot of the highlights, a lot of the regard, and a lot of the attention. And that's the CEO, the president, the C-suite, right? The executive leadership team, the managers. But then as it gets farther kind of down the line of team members and you get to the frontline employees, they typically don't get a whole lot of respect. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of companies view their frontline employees, their frontline team members, kind of as a number. Like, hey, let's hire on as many as we can now because we need to, because we're scaling. And let's see how it plays out. Let's see if it's going to work with them. And if not, they'll leave and we'll just hire on somebody else. Well, first of all, that's a big detriment to your culture because all that is showing to everybody else is that you don't really care. You're not really taking the time to develop and train your people effectively and really ingrain them in the culture. And so that all comes back to how you're hiring them. Now, what also happens is if the internal team member on the front line, or even a manager, middle management, and even executives and C-suite can feel this as well, unappreciated, but usually it's on the front line. When they're feeling that way, how do you think they're going to treat your customers? Do you think they're going to provide exceptional level 5 world-class service? Of course not. They're going to treat people the way that they are being treated. And so keep in mind, your customers will never have a better experience than your internal team members are having. I'm going to say that again because it's so important and so often overlooked. Your customers will never have a better experience than your internal team members are having. So what that means is we have to cultivate, train, and develop our internal team. That is the first priority. Then it comes the customer. Thinking that the customer is always first is actually a failing formula because if your team members aren't first, your customers won't be taken care of. And again, this is thinking of a company as it is scaling or even at scale, and you have multiple departments and you have hundreds of team members and maybe you only have 10 team members right now. That is still applicable to you. So here's what I want you to think about. One of my mentors has an amazing story where he was going to speak at a business. And the morning of the event, he decided to go with the vice president and kind of walk through the grounds of the operation and to see what was going on and kind of get a feel for everything. And then he wanted to see where he was going to be speaking later on. And so as he was walking through, they actually brought him through kind of like a back end of a kitchen. And they're walking through and there was a woman mopping the floor. And my mentor stopped the tour and acknowledged this woman and said, hey, how are you doing? How's your day going? Am I going to see you later on at the speaking event? And keep in mind, my mentor is standing with the head of this company, right? And my mentor is about to speak to them about inclusion and everybody matters and culture and making sure everybody's trained and developed effectively. So when he asked this woman mopping, he said, sorry, am I going to see you at the event later on? And she looked up and said, no, I wasn't invited. And so my mentor looked at the head of the company and said, well, you don't mind if she comes, do you? And of course, that team member ended up attending the program. And here's what happened. Later on, when my mentor was up on stage, he looked down at the front row and it was in this big auditorium. He looked down at the front row and he saw that woman sitting in the front row and she was taking notes and she was just so engaged in the presentation. But when he looked back again, as he was ending the presentation, she was gone and he didn't know what happened. And he thought, well, hopefully, she enjoyed it or whatever the case was. And about a week later in the mail, he received a handwritten letter from this woman saying, thank you so much for taking the time that day to stop and to acknowledge me. The fact that you did that completely changed my day and it changed my thought process. Turns out that was not her actual position to mop the floor. She did a lot of other work with food and beverage, and she was just kind of helping out at that time. But even to that extent, her own head of company had not acknowledged her enough and gave her the care to say, I want you to come to this event. He kind of overlooked her. But my mentor stopped and said, no, she matters. So I want you to think about this in your company. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you're running a bank, if you're running an online business, if you're running a restaurant, whatever the industry is, if you have team members, you must recognize that every single person on your team matters. That's even if you have an offshore team, right? People working remote, every single person matters. And it is up to you as the leader of your company to show that they matter. And the best way to do that is really complicated. The best way to show someone that they matter is to tell them. You need to tell them that they matter. And don't just tell them at once a quarter. Don't just tell them that they matter during their review because nobody cares. It's too late, right? Especially if somebody's already made up their mind to leave. If you're trying to save that person at their review, they're gone. because they've already quit up here. So you want to make sure that you're being proactive, and every single day, yeah, every single day, you are taking time to tell people that they matter. And I want you to think about this. And you might think, well, that's going to take a lot of my time, Steve. Well, it is. And as a leader, where should your focus be? Your focus should be on your people. If you want your business to grow, if you want your customers to have world-class experiences, you need to take care of your people first. And so when you wake up in the morning, make sure you're good to go. Make sure you've had time to meditate if that's what you do, to exercise if that's what you do, have your gratitudes, and then you come in and you focus on your people, because I guarantee you they need you right now. They need you more than ever. And if you are not someone who has integrated this in your culture yet, and it sounds a little foreign to you, you have an amazing opportunity to slow down, to be intentional, and to show every single person on your team that they matter to you, because they absolutely do. And let me tell you, in today's job market, when you have a good team member, and if they're not satisfied, if they're not growing, if they're not feeling appreciated, recognized, and encouraged in your culture, guess what they're doing? They're looking around. They're looking at, where can I go? Who could pay me more? And that's the issue. If people are leaving your company right now simply because they can get paid more elsewhere, that's a culture issue. That means that we have a gap there. That means we need to show them you're appreciated. I'm going to recognize you, and I'm going to encourage you every single day. And that could just be in a 5-minute conversation. This doesn't need to be in a 10-minute, in a half an hour, in an hour-long meeting where you're thinking my whole day is going to be these meetings. You're going to need to do those, that's for sure. But that's not what it means. If you have remote team members, give them a phone call. FaceTime them, jump on a Zoom with them one-on-one, and don't ask them about, hey, how's it come with the reports? Hey, how's it come with this project? Forget that. That is not connecting. That's just transactional, and they know it. What you want to do is get on those calls, make those connections, and just ask about them. How are they doing? How are they feeling? How's their family? And don't accept surface level answers of, oh, things are good. Yeah, no, it's okay. Because that's not really how they feel. And if they give you those answers as a knee-jerk reaction, that just means they don't trust you right now. And that's not your fault necessarily. It's not their fault. It's just where we are. And so you have to look at it and say, all right, well, I can only go up from here. So let me be vulnerable with them. Let me be open with them. Let me tell them about myself as well from a personal level, so we can get connected. Because I guarantee you, when you start to care for them, when you start to show them that every single person in this organization matters, your entire culture is going to change. They're going to come in so fired up. They're going to come in looking for opportunities, looking for solutions, coming in with creative ideas, establishing better connections with team members. And what is that doing? First of all, that's making them happier and more productive. Second of all, that's increasing the health of your internal culture. And third, it's going to benefit your customer, because your customer is now going to get on phone calls with people who are fired up. Your customer is now going to call into a company where they're having a great day and they want to work with them and they don't want to get off the phone. So it's a big, big difference. When you slow down and you realize that everybody matters, your entire culture will change. So apply that today and every day moving forward. Think about it. What is one thing I can do for my team members today and then tomorrow and the next day that lets them know and reminds them, hey, I'm here for you. You matter, and I really appreciate what you're doing here. We wouldn't be a company without you. Now, again, don't just say the words, because words will fall flat after a while if the actions don't change. So you want to make sure that you are telling them how much they matter to you, and then you're showing them as well. But if you're starting off at a baseline, first thing to do is tell them. So I hope this helps. Just think about it when you're thinking through your day today. Everybody matters. Who is someone that you need to connect with? Because I guarantee you they're coming to the back of your mind right now. And make that call today. Go speak to them today. Go walk into their office and just let them know how much you appreciate them, and ask them if there's anything that you can do for them, and then make sure you do it. So I hope this one helped, and I'll see you on the next Customer Service School.